as you settle into your breath for this yoga practice. Feel into your body in the space where you sit. Notice your senses and how they tune you into the world outside of your skin. Feel the pressure of your body meeting the hug of gravity. Feel your clothes draped over your skin and the temperature in the room. And if your eyes are gently shut, notice what light you see through your eyelids. If they're open, can you soften the gaze and take in the different colors without focusing on one particular point? Notice any tastes in your mouth or smells in the room, and any sounds. We can thank our senses for bringing the outer world to us. We digest this outer information inside of our bodies. So let's now turn inwards and feel how the breath moves the body. Feel what it is to be physically alive. So often I find myself taking this life for granted. Can we feel what it is to have life force move through our bodies? How lucky we are to be here, experiencing the breath, the body, the moment. And today, let's invite this breath deep down into the pelvis. And as we exhale, let's relax into the hug of gravity, honoring our root chakra, our ability to ground to earth, to create feelings of safety and security and connection. With connection, we rise to the second chakra, feeling for our sense of belonging here, in this world, in this moment, in our families and communities of friends, in our community of acquaintances, in grocery stores, at gas stations, concert halls, or dance floors. Can we breathe into this sense of belonging? Doug and I were talking yesterday about this sense of being welcomed in San Juan del Sur. People laugh when we speak the language with pleasure, and I don't speak it very well. And enjoy teaching us the names of fruits and vegetables, helping us with directions. All of this contributes to my sense of belonging. And then we breathe up to third chakra, our will, our intentions in the world. And we breathe into these intentions and our ability to formulate them and to step with presence into our lives and to lift with presence up into our hearts if we want to operate from here. And then we invite the breath up deep from our roots to our hearts, filling the whole torso up to the heart center. And imagining the heart chakra pulsing big on the inhale and relaxing a little on the exhale. Can we fill our hearts with this awareness of life and of the lives that have influenced us, that are still residing in our hearts? My dad, who loved to travel and meet new people, is here with me. He's been gone not quite a month, and he's here. Can we breathe into our hearts and allow ourselves to really experience the present moment? And the flow of emotions that come and go, the flow of thoughts. And then still present in our bodies, aware of outer and inner landscape, let's breathe up to our throat, the throat chakra, where we may express, share creativity, share what's deep in our hearts. Think of the emotion you sometimes experience in your throat. How words sometimes get stuck and sometimes march out without maybe even our stop sign awareness. And then let's breathe up to our third eye. Breathe in towards our witnessing presence. Crown, third chakra, third eye chakra. How aware can we be of these experiences of our lives and how we want to develop them? How compassionate can we be with ourselves and others? And then we come to the crown. And we can think of opening the soft palate gently towards the sky. And opening ourselves to the movement of energy between earth and sky. We can imagine the river of the Kundalini, the Sushumna, traveling this length, chakras spinning. We can breathe health into the whole system. and into our expanding awareness. Fluid breath. Can we now breathe up this center channel and relax on the exhales, knowing our spirit is alive, awake, and complete just as it is. Sometimes we may experience this more fully if we think of how alive and awake and complete those who have left us were and are. Now see if you can dwell inside the rhythm of your breath, inviting your sense of closeness to others you've kept in your heart, others who inform your intuition. And can we let those that have loved us smile out from inside us during this practice today as we open our hearts? And may they continue to inspire us in our practice and in our daily lives. Let's inhale our hands to our hearts and bow our thanks to the poets that help us remember. For me, one of those is John O'Donohue. Namaste. Let's come to standing. And let's begin releasing our hands and allowing them to gently shake. Releasing the fingers and the thumbs and the bones of the hands. Let's let the hands shake out to the side and up to the top. And ground the feet even as the knees bounce. Feel the whole sole of the foot on the floor, rooting you earthward. And let your hands shake up towards the stars, inviting your awareness of this energy between earth and sky through the body today. And then let's exhale the hands down. And let's inhale, drawing in energy, and exhale it through the Sushumna channel from the sky into the feet, into the earth. And inhale it from the earth upward, upward, and exhale it out through the crown chakra. Whichever direction feels good to you today, breathe your inhale and your exhale. And invite the energy to move through your physical form, even in those stagnant places that might be tight or constricted. Invite the fascia and the muscles to stretch in these sun, snow, rain breath. Feel the earth evenly beneath your feet. And then rest your hands at your heart and step your left foot forward, right foot back. And take your rock step wide. Both feet forward like you're walking down a trail. Will come into Virabhadrasana 1. Bending into the front knee, lifting the arms. Tailbone reaching for the back heel. Plant the outer corner of your back heel and lift that inner arch slightly. Drawing energy through the pelvic floor up the spine. And then exhale, let the arms come down. And inhale, reach them forward. Lifting the spine, activate your bandhas to support the spine in front. That's a lifting of the pelvic floor, a lengthening and strengthening of muscles along the front of the spine. Follow your own breath, inhaling the arms forward and ahead, both feet really rooted and grounded to the earth. One more. Inhaling the reach. Lengthen up. Open your arms into goalposts and lift the palms slightly. Lift the heart slightly. Broaden across the chest and invite the breath into the whole of the torso. Long in the back of the neck. And then exhale, straightening the front leg and stepping to the other side. Take your rock step. Let it come as wide as you'd like so that when you bend your front leg knee, you don't take it in front of the ankle. And then inhale. Reach your arms forward and lift and lengthen up. Tailbone towards the back heel. Lift the low back rib ring. Lift the base of the skull. Relax the shoulders broad. And then exhale. Let the arms float down like wings and inhale. Reach forward and up, lengthening the spine, not forgetting to lengthen the back of the neck. And exhale. Inhaling forward, lifting the low rib ring as you come towards the back bend, inviting some of the back bend to be in the rib cage. Now, those of you whose arms don't want to go that high, you can circle low and come into a T, lifting the heart here broad across the shoulders. Rest the shoulders away from the skull. Continue your fluid breath, inviting the body to both ground and open. Inhaling forward. And exhaling into the opening. Step your feet back together, mountain pose. Feel how just that one posture can change how we feel in the body. And then step your feet wide. Turn the left foot out, take the right heel back, and we'll open the hips and shoulders a little bit. Coming into star pose, bending into Virabhadrasana 2. Long spine. On your next exhale, bring your right fingertips to the back leg, left palm up. Now feel into your spine. If you come to a point where you're gripping, come back out again. Relax the shoulders, ground from the pelvis down. Inhale up the length of the spine and only come as far back as you feel like, wow, I can kind of lift one vertebrae off the other. And then exhale, left hand to femur, right arm alongside the ear, broad across your shoulders. Stay high if you'd like, or come lower. Breathe the body open from the pelvis into the rooting feet, up to the reaching arm. And open the heart skyward. Fluid breath. And then bow the heart towards earth. And then come into neutral, heart forward, and allow the upper body to rainbow over the lower body. Breathing, parachute breath up in to that right side body. Let the parachute of that right side body lift on the inhale. Relax on the exhale. And then inhale back up to Vira 2, straightening the front leg. Hinge forward into a relatively high Trikonasana for the first one. Really feel from your pelvis, you're in a star shape. Let each part of the star shine open from the pelvis. This means activating Mula Bandha and Uddiyana Bandha. And then exhale, float back up, turning the left leg in and the right leg out. Take the left heel back and bend the right knee into your Vira 2. And gaze out over your front fingertips. And on your next inhale, reach the left fingers for the leg, the right arm up. Really stay with awareness of your spine. Make sure you're not hunching the shoulders up to the skull. It's about creating freedom in the body. And a lot of times we push towards the shape we've visually seen. Instead, feel the pose from inside of yourself. Where can you broaden the shoulders to create opening in the neck? Can you breathe space into the pose anywhere? Perhaps It's along this left side body. Perhaps it's a buoy under the left armpit. And then we exhale back up, straightening the front leg. Oh no, sorry. I was skipping something. Right hand to the femur bone, left arm alongside the ear. Starfish, shine from the center core out each limb. And then perhaps come lower and turn your heart skyward. Feel from your pelvis how you can ground into the whole sole of the feet, still honoring your lifting arches. And then exhale, heart bowing towards earth, towards our roots, towards those people who are inside of us still inspiring us. And then we float up, heart outward, and allow the upper left arm to rainbow overhead and breathe prana up into the left side body. And then we exhale and relax into an opening, even inside the strength we create with the lower body's groundedness. And then we exhale back up to Viratu, and now we straighten the front leg and cartwheel towards Trikonasana. It does not have to be a low pose. Let it be a vibrant and alive pose. Fluid breath. Expansive and relaxing. And then grounding the feet. Float back up. Turn your right leg in, step together, and pause in mountain pose. Standing poses help us to open the body. Let's bring in our chair or our blocks, and we'll move through a little sun salutation series, and then some standing poses with a chair. Let's pause in front of the chair or the blocks, and inhale. Lift our arms, bending our knees, come into Utkatasana. Make sure your knees are over your second metatarsals. They're not knocking together. And your arms could be here if your shoulders are tight in a T, palms up. And then bring your hands to your prop and inhale. Lift your heart. And exhale. Step your left foot forward, right foot back. You can either keep the heel lifted or lower your heel and inhale, lift into your opening crescent pose. Relax the shoulders broad and open. Inhale, up the length of your opening spine, into your opening pelvis. And exhale, hands to your props, step back, plank. Fluid breath. You can stay here or roll forward into your cobra or upward dog. Keeping the back of the neck long. Can you stretch the front of the neck long as well? And exhale, back, downward dog. Stepping the right leg forward. Inhale up into crescent or Viratu. Shine out of the back hamstring. Keep it alive and vibrant. Don't bring the shoulders up to the ears. Let the neck be long and spacious. And then exhale. Hands back to your prop. Step back, plank. Long spine, even the back of the neck long. Feeling your strength. Lift one foot up off the floor just a few inches. Fluid breath. Lowering that foot, lift the other foot up. Lowering that foot, you can stay in plank or come into your upward dog. And exhale back into your downward dog. Stretch the pelvis back, lengthening the spine, and perhaps walk your dog, bending one knee and then the other, inviting the torso to stretch open. Staying present in the experience of your body, listening with compassion, not pushing too hard. And then Let's step forward and lift up into Utkatasana, hands at the heart. And exhale, twist one direction and inhale to center. Exhale the other. Inhale to center. Keeping the knees solid, the lower body stable. We create security for the movement in the pose. The movement does not need to be big. Coming back to center, let your arms swing free. And then lift them skyward, interlace them, thumbs to the base of the skull, rest the head back, reaching the elbows skyward. Fluid breath, plant the tailbone, lift the low rib ring, open the heart, and if you'd like to, unfurl your arms into a standing back bend. And then exhale, release your hands. Fluid breath. And step your left foot forward onto the seat of the chair. So this is going to be a high Virabhadrasana 3, stepping forward. We lean forward, really plant both feet. Feel through the soles of your feet to your connection to earth and lift the arms to whatever position best works for you. Now really root the tailbone towards the back heel. Try to hug the pelvis gently inward to help you create a container. Fluid breath. Tailbone reaching towards the back heel, low back rib ring lifting. And then exhale, stepping this foot down, step the other up. Now remember, the back foot wants to be slightly turned out. We lunge forward and we inhale into the length, really grounding the outer back foot heel. And then as we're ready, we draw energy up through the pelvic floor, up along the spine. We lift the low back rib ring, we lift the back of the skull, and we open. Fluid breath. Stretching our bodies open. We exhale, hands to the heart, and mountain pose. So next, I'm going to invite you to lower your knee to the floor. You don't have to do that if it doesn't feel good in your knees, but some of you may want to bring a blanket in to step over. You can use, here again, the chair or the blocks. Inhale, reach the arms skyward. Exhale, bend the knees, Utkatasana. We warm up the quads. We warm up the legs so that they'll stretch open more easily. If this position of the arms doesn't feel good in your shoulders, it's fine to have your palms up and your arms wide. And then place your hands on your props. Step the left foot forward, the right foot back. You can stay in high lunge or even go into crescent again, or you can lower your back knee. You may want to move your prop slightly forward. Fluid breath. Press down with your hands onto your props. Lift the armpits. If you have blocks, you may bring them back by your hips and press down here. Wherever you are, lift your heart. You can stay here or lift your right arm skyward. Fluid breath. You can stay here or bring your right arm to the back leg. Lift your left arm skyward. Side body's long, low back rib ring lifting. We exhale, hands back to our props. Roll under the toes, lift into high lunge, step back, plank. In your plank, lift one leg and then lower it. Gently lift the other foot just a few inches off the ground and then lower it. Roll forward into your upward dog. Long side bodies. Open across the collarbones. Lifted low back rib ring. Tailbone reaching for the heels. Roll back, downward dog. Start with bent knees. Really let the pelvis traction behind you. Broad across the shoulders. Can you breathe into the Sushumna? The main river of energy that runs up the front of the spine, connects you from earth to sky. And you invite healing prana to run through this river and out into all of the tributaries and streams that move off this river of energy. Legs may straighten, long traction spine. And then step the right leg forward. Come into your lunge. You can lift into high lunge or lower your left knee, pressing down with your hands. Find length to the spine. So we don't want to collapse the pelvis really forward and let it come really wide and just sink the pelvis towards the floor. That can overstretch ligaments. We want to find this kind of container hugging into the pelvis, a lift through the pelvic floor, a lengthening up the spine. We may stay here or lift the left arm, broad across the shoulder girdle, lifting the back of the skull. We may stay here or bring the left hand to the back leg and lift the right arm skyward. Stop where it's best for you along the path of opening. Fluid breath. And then exhale. Hands back to your props. Lift into high lunge. Step back plank. Lift one foot slightly off the floor. Feel into the strength. Balanced pelvis. Put that foot back down. Lift the other side. Foot back down. If you'd like to, float into upward dog. If this hurts your low back, don't do it. Broad across your shoulder girdle. Exhale back. Downward dog. Long spine. Heels under sit bones. Float hands to your heart and inhale, twist one direction. And exhale to center. And inhale and exhale. It may be easier. I think it's easier to actually exhale one direction. And inhale, lengthen the spine. And exhale the other direction. And inhale, lengthen the spine. And release your arms and let them swing. And lift yourselves up, interlacing your fingers the funny way, thumbs to the base of the skull. Rest your head back into your standing back bend. Can you relax into the strength of your posture? Can you relax into full awareness of the body, of the breath? And then exhale to standing and release. Pausing and mountain pose. Okay, so I'd like us to come into a runner's stretch. One way to do that would be to bring the chair to a wall. One way to do that would be to bring a strap to have around your ankle. And some of you will just be able to lift the ankle. So right here would be how I would do it with a chair. Now what I noticed, I was doing this practice earlier today, what I noticed with this chair, it isn't my yoga chair, and I just want to say this because we're all different heights, is that I can't bring my shin onto this chair because it's so high without hitching my hip. So I'm going to come to the place where I can have my hips settled if I'm using a chair, if that makes sense. And then that means I may have to walk forward a little bit to bring my femur bone down. So I just wanted to have you become aware of how your pelvis is level, no matter which pose you're taking. Same thing, if you lift your foot into your hand or into a strap, we don't want to be hitching the lifted leg foot up towards the armpit. We want to allow the pelvis to be level and the bent knee to be reaching earthward parallel to the other femur bone. And then we broaden across the chest. All of this is work towards heart opening. We lift from the center sternum, from the heart center. We lift from the inner collarbones. We lift from the base of the skull. Fluid breath. If you'd like to, you can push the back foot into the back hand and arch back into a bit of a back bend. Keep the front chest lifted. We're not hinging forward yet. If you're at a wall, you could walk your hand up the wall. Fluid breath, really stretching from knee to shoulder girdle, lengthening the neck out of the shoulder girdle, and breathing deep into the torso and the leg, and then release. And then we'll try the other side, lifting, releasing the knee, lifting the arm, if you'd like to, up the wall or up the sky, knee releasing, stretch through the quad from the pelvis. So the hip pointer of the pelvis lifts away from the knee so that you're opening the hinge at the front of the hip. Reach the tailbone earthward. Lift the lowest rib ring away from the pelvis. Lift the heart center and perhaps press the foot back into the hand. Stay lifted in the upper body. This can take Mula Bandha, a lift of the pelvic floor, a lengthening up along the spine, and release. Pause with your breath. So if that felt like too much, remember you can always come to this work where we just stretch ourselves open this way. In fact, let's all try it together. Now, after what we've just done, let go. Take one foot behind you. Ground from the pelvis down, lift the low rib ring, lift up under the armpits, lift the skull and lift the foot behind you and the arms forward. Find that lift and opening. And then bend the heel towards the sit bone. There you are, coming towards your Nataraj Asana. You could even hinge forward a little, pressing the back foot skyward. And then release. Try the other foot back behind you. Pelvis forward and even. Inhale. As you lift your arms, release the tailbone towards the back heel. And then as you're ready, lift heart and lift heel. Lengthen between pelvis and lowest ribs. Shoulder blades broad on the back body can help lift the heart. Perhaps you bend your knee and press the foot skyward. Fluid breath. It's a beautiful place to practice the work. Exhale, release, and pause in mountain. Let your head and shoulders and sacrum rest back. Become aware of the energy running through your physical form. This is prana, life force. Think of the people that imbue your heart, your energy. With beauty, with courage, with joy. And then let's take a seat on the chair. And let's take, if you'd like, you can bring blocks up to the seat of the chair. We're going to move into Ustrasana. You could have blocks here and hold on to the blocks and take one leg under and press up. Some of you won't need the blocks. You'll want to hold your hands onto the legs of the chair or place your hands on the seat. We reach the foot under the knee towards the floor, and the sit bones can even come towards off the chair. But that's going to take a lift of Mula Bandha, a lift along the spine. Lift your low back ribs away from the pelvis. With the shoulder blades, help lifting your rib cage so your heart can open. Breathe three-dimensionally into the torso, filling from pelvic floor to collarbones. From pelvic floor, massaging behind the shoulder blades. And then exhale, release to sitting. Notice where energy moves. These stretches, if we orient our neck correctly, can really help us stretch around the thyroid glands. Take the other foot back. Bring your hands into your chosen position. I like starting up on my metacarpal ridge, on this knuckle ridge, because I can get a little more lift into my side bodies. And then I can activate my bandhas, and then I can come down farther and feel like I've supported my spine. Take your foot back as far as it's comfortable. And then come back to your three-dimensional breath. Notice if you've come into a point where you're straining and your breath is restricted. If so, come out a little bit. Find the place where you can breathe yourself open without strain. And then exhale and come back up and turn yourselves around, kneeling. Now, if kneeling is hard, you can take a ball to your wall and do a cobra up the wall. You could do it without a ball as well. You can just have your hands on the wall and do a cobra there. Or hands on the seat of your chair and lift the heart. Now here we really want to extend that tailbone down as the third leg of a stool and create a very strong stand in the pelvis. And then we take the time to lift the low rib ring away from the pelvis, to broaden across the collarbones and find the shoulder blades like hands on the back ribs, helping us to lift the heart open. Long neck, relaxing the jaw, relaxing the eyes. We breathe, opening the heart chakra. Some of you may be able to let go of your props and let your hands rest back behind you. And then inhale back up and sit back towards your heels. If you need a block between your heels, you can bring one in. Pause with your breath. Now you can either have your blocks beside you or you can bring your bolster across your calves. I don't have a bolster here, so I'm going to do it with the blocks today. We inhale and lengthen up. Do any of those previous poses, either seated on the chair or in front. Lifting the heart, lift the low rib ring, ground the pelvis into the legs. And perhaps you just want to keep the hand on the chair and lift the other hand skyward. And then exhale it down. Keep one hand on your blocks or chair, lift the other hand skyward. Exhale it back down. You can stay here on the front of the foot or you can curl your toes under. Inhaling, lifting both arms, tailbone grounding. Really find that lift of the low rib ring, that lift of the heart. Interlace your hands. Hold your head in your palms and lift into your camel pose. Ustrasana. Some of you may want to stay here. Some may want to unfurl your arms. Some may want to stay here. Some may want to release the arms down towards your bolster or your blocks and lift the heart. Make sure you're not pinching in the low back. Breathe into the posture. And then exhale yourselves back up. Float back and come into downward dog. Fluid breath. Okay, let's come now to the floor. And let's start on our backs with our blocks handy. And let's bring our humerus bones to either side of our torso, broad across the shoulder girdle, heels in line with sit bones. And inhale, lift your pelvis. So no pillow under your head here. Coming into your bridge pose, bring your heart up towards your chin, but keep your gaze perpendicular to the floor. Really try to find a lift in the heart and a lift in the pelvis. And then exhale, relax the pelvis toward the floor, almost touch, and then inhale, float the pelvis skyward, and exhale, float it earthward, and let the breath lift and lower your pelvis. Lift and lower, lift and lower. And then release into your constructive rest. If you need a light blanket under your sacrum, a small blanket under your sacrum for core work, bring that in. Float one leg to tabletop and then the other. And toe dip one foot. The knee stays at a right angle and exhale it up. Try not to touch the floor. Move down 2/3 of the way and exhale up. Feel deep into your core. Feel into a drawing of energy towards the spine and long along the spine. Your shoulder girdle broad, your head of your arm bones relaxed. We're working from the low rib ring to the hip pointers, low ribs hugging towards hip pointers. Warming up those hip flexors right now so they will stretch more easily. And hug your knees in and circle them wide and back together again. And then keep the right knee hugged in, left hand on inner knee, right hand on ankle. Nod your nose towards your mouth and almost lift from your hairline or lift the head. Reach the long leg long and switch, 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 switch. Really stretch that leg out long, keeping the pelvis well centered. Waking up the strength in the core. Warming it up for stretching. Hug both knees in. Reach hands and feet away from each other. Circle and hug. Reach, circle and hug. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Ground the low rib ring. Reach and hug. And rest your head back. And come up with your hands on the front of your femur bones. Now keep the natural curves to your spine as you press your hands into your femurs and isometrically pull your femurs towards your chest. Press and pull. Feel the core awaken and work. Let the core muscles lay towards the floor. The front abdominal muscles lay back into the torso as you work. We don't want them pooching forward. And then release. Hug the knees towards you and then circle them out away from you. Circling the opposite direction to last time. And then come back up into your tabletop. One palm holding the back of the other hand. Hand holding head and exhale. Lift your right elbow, lengthen the right leg and switch and switch. Really rest the head back into your hands, spine long. Warming up the obliques now. Trying to get all these abdominal muscle groups stretched so they're more likely to open. Fluid movement. Find your breathing rhythm. And keep it going, reaching that elbow for the sky. Let the head be heavy, the spine long, the legs really reaching. And then come back to center, release your head. Float one foot to the floor and then the other. Palms face each other across the torso and lift into your bridge. Fluid breath. And lower the pelvis. Now you can stay on both feet or you can point one foot towards the sky. Try to keep your pelvis balanced and lift into your bridge. Now notice what this pose is. If you laid your arms down on the floor, you're in your dancer pose. Fluid breath. And exhale, release the pelvis to the floor. Bring the lengthened leg in, switch sides. Grounding your arms, grounding your standing foot, lift the pelvis. You can lift the heart here. Pelvis even. Strong standing leg. If you'd like to, release your hands down towards the standing foot. Bring the arms back to bent elbows and lower the pelvis. Step the foot down and lift one more time into a full bridge, reaching the tailbone for the backs of the knees. Take some three-dimensional breaths into the torso. You're stretching the front psoas pathway while you strengthen the back body here. Fluid breath. And then slowly lower your pelvis to the floor. Release your arms. Relax your breath. Step your right ankle over your left femur bone. And exhale. Hug in towards the chest. Now, some of you will just bring the foot to a block. Some of you may want your yoga strap around the femur bone. Some will be able to interlace your fingers around femur or shin on the left side. Fluid breath into the stretch. You may want to rock your hips side to side to find the stretch you want to breathe into. And then really let your awareness deepen into the hip and feel for your ability to relax the tissue on the exhale. If the tissue stays gripped, then you're not getting a stretch. You need to release to the point where when you exhale, you can relax the tissue. Really try to relax the face, the jaw, the eyes, the hip. And then release and switch sides. Really allow the left knee to fall open. And then you float the legs into whatever position is best for you to breathe into the stretch. Keep the lifted foot flexed. Rock from side to side till you find the stretch you want to settle into with your breath. Can you relax your shoulders and your jaw and your neck? Can relaxing these parts of the body help you to open the hip? You can allow out deep sighs if they're going to help you to open the body. And then release. And roll yourselves over onto your bellies. Palms down. Put your forehead on the back of your hands. Now, if some of you would prefer to come onto your bolster and put your forehead on the block like we do for the Salutations series, please do that. Reach your tailbone for your heels, planting your pubic bone. Breathe the torso wide. Feel into your three-dimensional breath in this position. And then pressing into your forearms, long neck, lift your head, stretch your torso forward, draw your arms isometrically back. Continue your three-dimensional breath. Keep your pubic bone planted and your tailbone reaching long for your heels. You can stay here, or you can come into Sphinx pose with your arms parallel to each other, a little higher lift of the shoulder girdle. Still, planting the pubic bone, reaching the tailbone long for the heels will help you activate the front abdominal muscles. Back of the neck long. Feel for your three-dimensional breath. These are good positions to practice three-dimensional breath in. Notice if you're getting a stretch through your front abdominals, through the psoas. You can stay here, or you can lift one foot and stretch it back behind you and lower it. Lift the other foot, stretch it back behind you and lower it. You can stay here or bring one heel in towards your sit bone and just let it bounce towards the sit bone. Tailbone still reaching long towards the long leg heel. Pubic bone still trying to ground even with the bent leg. Shoulder girdle broad, neck long. Release the one leg and bend the other knee if you'd like to. Notice if one side's tighter than the other. Maybe you lift the femur again. Maybe you stretch the pelvis away from the knee, grounding the pubic bone and breathing into the whole circumference of the torso. And then we exhale and release and lower the head back to the backs of the hands. And we rest into the breath. See if you can relax a little more deeply into the hug of gravity with each exhale. We are doing a combination of a hip opener and a back bend with kapotasana. Fluid breath. You can stay there breathing or bring your palms back by your hips. Palms down, thumbs out. Broaden across the collarbones and lift the heart, the hyoid bone, the head, the heels, and the hands. Remember, the hands do not lift as high as the shoulders. Breathe length along the spine into the 72,000 nadis, rivers of energy. And breathe from the pelvic core and the heart outward. Breathe back in to the memory of those you've loved that inform your life, your practice. Feel the strength in your own body, your own determination. And then exhale, hands beneath your shoulders, roll up into tabletop. And inhale a gentle cow. And exhale a gentle cat. And let these be gentle, like gentle ocean waves. No rush, no reason to go to full range of motion. But notice how the body opens and allows for a little bit more movement on the waves as the spine adjusts back out of its back bend. You can stay with these waves or bring your big toes together, knees wide, and roll back child's pose. Inviting your awareness again into your three-dimensional breath, letting your sit bones settle and your hips open. Fluid breath. Your arms, elbows can come down around your legs, palms rest by your head. If it feels like too much to have your forehead on the floor, bring a block in and rest your forehead on the block. And everybody lift to forehead on the block and roll across your eyebrow, your third eye, your other eyebrow. Massaging across the sixth chakra. Inviting your mind to relax, to unwind. And then come to center, resting your forehead on that third eye spot. And breathe into that third eye, that intuitive connection. And then let yourself come up to sitting and bring one or two blocks behind you if you can comfortably come into Virasana. If you can't comfortably come into Virasana, the seated position with your feet back, then come back to the chair and do the form of Ustrasana where we brought one leg under at a time to stretch the quads. Okay. So if you have a bolster, you could also be sitting on the bolster and moving towards a stretching of these front quads. If you have extra blocks, you could bring blocks in behind you, or if you have the flexibility, you can come back to your hands. Fluid breath. Some of you may not need a block under your seat. You may be able to sit between your heels and bring blocks behind you to really fold back into a Supta Virasana. Only do this if it's okay for your knees. You can do any of the previous poses to help us open here. Fluid breath. Stretching open the quads, resting open the heart. You can come back into any of the camel poses, into a standing cobra, into the salambasanas. Fluid breath. Wherever you are, gently lift yourself back out of the pose and come back up to sitting on the seat of your chair. I want us to take one more hip opener before we come into our Ekapada Raja Kapotasana. So we did Eye of the Needle on our backs. And now you can either do that again or bring your left ankle over your right knee on your seat. Pause before you hinge forward and invite awareness of the whole body. And then inhale long in the spine and exhale, hinge forward. Inhale long and exhale, hinge. Fluid breath. If you can hinge fully forward, you may like to bring in your blocks, or you may be able to reach for the floor and come down. Don't strain to get here. Please let the hinge come from the hip. Let the leg relax open. If it's too much, remember you can get a hip stretch with knees crossed and come forward here. Fluid breath. Long spine. Exhaling, relaxing the hip. Let the breath move like warm water into the joint, relaxing it. And then lift yourself back up and out, pausing in your seat. Breathing deep into the pelvis and switching sides. Inhaling, we lengthen the spine up. Exhaling, we hinge forward at the pelvis. Inhaling length, exhaling the hinge. Fluid breath. Noticing if one side is tighter than the other. Noticing if there's a tendency to push past where it's comfortable to breathe into the stretch. And if there is, having compassion for that side of yourself and then backing off a little. We teach ourselves to have loving kindness towards ourselves. And then we inhale and rise back up. Pausing in our seat. Come back to your three-dimensional easy breath, where you relax the body more open on the exhales. This is key when we come into challenging poses. that we know how to relax into the pose while keeping a safe container. And then let's come up to standing. So those of you with a bolster, you'll be able to step over your bolster. Feel free to go into any previous pose if you like. Those of you who want to use the chair, you can. So pretend like these blocks and this towel are my bolster. Okay. So if you have blocks and a towel, you could use that. In fact, I tried earlier to use the blocks just without the towel, and I really liked that because I could move one block. So you will step over and bring the leg down and come back for the support under your pelvis. So this is the supported version. Now you could be in your high lunge instead. Okay, you can bring the foot back towards this hip. You could even take this block away. You could come forward onto your chair. Or you could have both your blocks, if you were using your bolster, forward here and rest down. Some of you, I know, are flexible enough to just have a pillow to bring in behind this buttock. So you can have a pillow or a blanket to draw in behind the buttock. Okay. So wherever your pose is today, come into it and then let yourself lie forward. Toes pointed back, hip opening, breathing into that opening hip. Fluid breath. As the pose gets more open, you can begin to bring the front leg shin parallel to the front of the mat. Don't do that if it feels like an overstretch. We do want an internal rotation of the back leg. And we do want that back leg hugging a center line, not splaying too far wide. And then we come into the breath and check in with the body that this is an okay position for us that we've chosen. Fluid breath. Now there are other places to do this pose. Those of you that are like, that is not going to happen in my body. You could come to a countertop or a wall and you could bring your leg up. You may be able to hold your foot, like there's a handy dandy doorknob for me, and lean forward into the pose here. You could do this on a countertop or on a desk or on a table. Just make sure that whatever you use is solid and sturdy enough to support you, maybe the back of a couch. Okay, so you could come up with the leg and come forward. I could do it here on this chair. So those are other options as well. But you are going to get hip opening from coming into your Vera 1 or a crescent pose or coming back to the seated eye of the needle. So whichever works best for you. Wherever you are, breathe into the posture. And then if you'd like to try adding the back bend, slowly walk your hands in, perhaps even with blocks, and let yourself press upward. Fluid breath. Perhaps you keep one hand on a block and lift the opposite arm skyward. You may even be able to bring that arm to the back leg and lift the other arm. Some of you may just want to stay hands firm on the blocks or on fingertips on the floor, lifting like there are ocean buoys under your armpits helping to pick you up. Lift the low rib ring away from the pelvis. Lift the base of skull away from the shoulder girdle. Breathe into your opening. And then whenever you're ready, hands on the floor. If you're low to the pose, you step back, downward dog. Those of you sitting on a bolster, you can bring the back leg around and sit cross-legged for a moment on your bolster. Fluid breath. Relaxing breath. We want to create stability and security in the pose and then see if we can find relaxation inside of it. Come to your other side, whatever that might be. So again, if you're using a bolster, you may step over the bolster and let your leg come down, bringing your blocks back to support you. Pressing down into the chair or into the blocks, finding that Mula Bandha lift, that lengthening up the front of the spine, and then folding forward into your Ekahata Raja Kapotasana. One-legged king pigeon pose. You can play with drawing the front hip crease back slightly, the way we do in a lot of the forward standing, forward folding poses like Parsvottanasana. Breathe deep into the opening hip. See if the rest of the body can relax and invite the hip to join. This doesn't mean we completely let go the stability inside the pose. There's a stability, an inner stability we keep and we relax around. But clenching the jaw or the eyes or the face will not help us. So we learn to not use energy where we don't need it. And then we come back to that three-dimensional breath. Inviting it to flow through all the rivers of energy in the body. Inviting it to flow through the heart. Inviting in images of loved ones that have influenced our lives and inspired us. And then rooting the pelvis. Perhaps you want to lift into your back bend version of the pose. Walking yourself up. Remember all that we've done so far in the practice, reaching the tailbone long for the back heel, lifting Mula Bandha, Uddiyana Bandha. Playing with that lift and length along the side bodies, lifting the low rib ring and the base of the skull. Perhaps we stay here. Perhaps we lift an arm. Fluid breath, broad across the shoulder girdle. We may bring the lifted arm towards the back leg and lift the other arm skyward. Broad across the shoulder girdle. We may even bring the hand back to hold the head. And then we inhale up, out of the pose, and we either bring the back leg forward if we're on the bolster, or we step back, downward dog, and we walk our dog, or we rest in a cross-legged seat and breathe. And then, as we're ready, come into downward dog. Fluid breath. Three-dimensional breath. Can you ground now from the pelvis down into the shoulder girdle, into the hands, into each finger pad. Pausing in a still downward dog with your three-dimensional breath. And then let's step our feet in towards our hands, hands towards our feet. Either bend the knees and unhinge or roll up one vertebrae at a time, contraindicated with osteoporosis. Pause in your mountain pose. Let mountain become a standing shavasana. Grounding really deeply into the feet. Inhale the arms slowly up overhead and imagine you're drawing earth energy from the feet all the way to the fingertips. Let the heart lift. And then exhale the arms back down. 2 more times. Inhale, draw earth energy up through the feet to the fingers. Perhaps you come into a slight standing back bend. And exhale, release. One more time, inviting the prana to pulse through you. And then I'm going to invite you to take your restorative at the wall today. You may want to bring your mat or not. And if you don't want to go to the wall, or you don't have a wall, there's a little beetle here. I have to get going the other direction. Then feel free to put your legs up on a piece of furniture. Okay. If you're coming to a wall or a piece of furniture, then bring your bolster or block to put under your pelvis, maybe a blanket. While I take the little beetle and let it go. If you'd like a yoga strap or TheraBand around your legs, then get that. I'm going to get a TheraBand. And then come. If you're coming up the wall, remember sitting beside it is easiest to roll your feet up. And then lift up, place your block or bolster under your sacrum. I really should have put my little strap on before. And let your legs rest against the wall or on furniture. You don't so much need the strap if you're on furniture, just really if you're on the wall, so that your legs don't have to work to stay together. A yoga strap will work just as well. And then get your shoulders, head, and neck comfortable. Fluid breath. We did a lot of strong work with the legs and the pelvis today. So now we're nourishing the pelvis. We're allowing the blood and lymph to flow back from the toes and the feet down the legs into the pelvis. Wash through the pelvis towards the heart. Heart easily pumping blood to the glands of the neck and into the head. And you rest into your three-dimensional breath. Now you can stay with legs up, or you can go for one more stretch, bringing the feet slowly overhead towards a Supta Paschimottanasana, forward fold. I'm wrapping my hands around the block. You could hold your bolster still. Let your feet come forward as far as is comfortable. Knees can bend if you need them to. Breathing into the stretch and then relaxing the body into the stretch with the exhales. Inviting the breath to be three-dimensional. To circulate prana through the whole body. And then as you're ready, come back up and rest. Let yourself maneuver around, fidget a little bit until you get into that comfortable place where you can rest into stillness. It is said that the prana spins the energy in the chakras. It's interesting that each chakra is at a nerve plexus. As you breathe, just breathe into this idea of harmonizing the energy in the body. And see if you can settle into awareness of that energy inside, that life force. Can part of you remain aware of this life force energy and still feel the temperature in the room or hear sounds outside of you that call your attention as well? Through the practice of yoga, we develop a deeper and broader awareness. And inside this awareness and your own presence, see if you can feel and sense those that you love. You can remain here for Shavasana, or you can move into a simple Shavasana of your choice. seeing if you can maintain this broad and deep awareness. Invite energy back into the fingers and toes. Begin to stretch and move in whatever ways feel good to you at this moment. And then as you're ready, slowly begin to unwind from whatever restorative you're in and come back to a comfortable seat. Feel free to turn your videos back on. And as you're ready, let's inhale our hands to our hearts. May we be present. May our practices help us grow and help us heal. Namaste. Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy.
You are welcome. Did your quads feel a little more warmed up for this class today, Jonathan?
Yeah, I like the Strasana with the blocks. You reminded me about how much not the Strasana with the blocks, but the Supta Virasana with the block.
Oh, yeah.
The head and into the mid back.
Isn't that nice?
I love that.
Yeah, good. All right. Well, I just wanted to tell people that I am having the standing pose workshop. I don't know if you got the newsletter, but it's on November 29th from 1 to 3 at Inner Path. And, please let me know if you can make it. I know some of you are already on my list, so I just hope that that date will still work for you. And if you aren't on there and want to be, give me an email. And then also I am going to hold a chronic pain workshop on Zoom December 8th, which is a Thursday from 1 to 3. And I've been studying this most recent unit on chronic pain. So it'll go into a little of the neuroscience and then how we can use yoga and breath and mindfulness to handle and sometimes relieve chronic pain. So if you're interested in that or you have friends who might be, please let them know about that as well. I'm coming back. Yeah. All right. Thank you all for your patience with me.
Thank you, Tracy, once again.
You're welcome. Have a wonderful day.
Bye now.
Bye.